All right, here we are. Good morning. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. Happy Friday morning. Hope your day is off to a great start. My name is Alan. I'm happy to be your host today, currently serving as the Chief Operating Officer for the Institute of Clinical Excellence and a faculty member in our Fitness Athlete division. Here on Fitness Athlete Friday, we talk all things fitness athlete, the CrossFitter, the Olympic weightlifter, the powerlifter, and the endurance athlete. Some announcements coming your way. Don't forget about Gut Check Thursday, 2,000 meter row. Pretty simple, but often overlooked. Saw some folks hitting that yesterday. I'm hoping to hit that this weekend. If you can stand up from the rower and walk away, you did not go fast enough on that 2,000 meter row. You should feel like you are trapped on the rower, and maybe you even leave your shoes in the foot plates on your way off the rower looking for the trash can. That's how to properly test a 2,000 meter row. So saw some folks casually strolling off the rower, and I think they left a little bit in the tank there. Other announcements. The ICE opportunity is open. We have extended the deadline to November 28th. That is the Sunday after Thanksgiving. At that point, we'll review all the applications and announce our recipients in early December for the year starting 2022. So what is the ICE opportunity? It is 2 years of free access to any ICE course that you want, live or online, as many as you want to take. That is open to anybody who would classify themselves as Black, Indigenous, or other person of color. If you think you fit that category, then there is an application form on the ICE website. Go to ptnice.com, upper right corner, click the Diversify tab, and there is an application there for you. If you don't fit in that category, but you know somebody who does, maybe a former student, maybe a coworker, friend, family member, then there is a form for you on there called the nomination form, where you can nominate somebody for the application. So maybe they don't know about it and you want to let them know about it. We will send them an invitation to apply and then consider the application along with everybody else. So don't forget to check out the ICE opportunity. Other exciting news, tonight at about 6 o'clock Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern, we are going to interview Dr. Julie Fouché here on the podcast. We're going to have her here on Instagram Live if you're watching on Instagram, and we're going to talk to her about CrossFit Precision Care and the role of rehab providers kind of in this CrossFit Health, CrossFit Precision Care rollout that we're watching go on. If you can't join us live, that's fine. We will record that and post it to the podcast. So if you are a podcast listener, if you can't catch us live, that is fine. You'll be able to listen to that interview sometime later tonight or tomorrow morning. So if you have some availability this afternoon, evening, check us out at 6 Eastern. We will talk to Julie live on here. Courses coming your way. Fitness Athlete Live is coming here to Fenton, Michigan this weekend. We have a couple spots left. Going to be a super huge course. Zach, Mitch, and Joe will be here. I'm actually headed down to Asheville, North Carolina here in about an hour, so I will miss that one, but that's going to be a total riot at CrossFit Fenton. And then our next course starting up after that will be Clinical Management of Fitness Athlete Pregnancy is Postpartum. That's 8 weeks online with Christina and Alexis. That starts November 1st. And then we have a couple more courses coming your way before Thanksgiving. So go to ptnice.com and check out courses if you're interested to get to a course before the holidays begin. So let's get into today's topic. We get this question a lot about which athlete, as a coach, as a physical therapist, which athlete in the gym are we most concerned with of who has the biggest kind of risk profile of somebody that could potentially become injured doing CrossFit style training in the gym. And I want to talk about kind of the different ways that we categorize CrossFit athletes, and that what we might think is true of the person most likely to be injured is probably not. And so when I sit back and think of how do I classify a CrossFitter, of somebody who comes to the gym on a regular basis, what criteria am I looking at to classify that person, and where does that place them as potentially being at a lower or higher risk for injury? So I think of 4 different categories for athletes. I think of the beginner athlete, I think of the intermediate athlete, I think of what we might call the advanced athlete, and then one level above that we might call elite, or somebody that is trying to go to the CrossFit Games, right? Somebody that is a competitive athlete. They're trying to basically make doing CrossFit their career. So kind of on a category on their own, a different level beyond everybody else, of somebody who's probably going to be training more often. When we think of who comes to class for an hour a day, we would probably label those folks as then beginner, intermediate, or advanced. So oftentimes we think the beginner athlete is the person most likely to be injured, right? They are brand new. They don't know the movements. They don't have a lot of capacity or baseline strength or range of motion. And they must be the person that is most likely to be injured. And actually the research would say not. We have a really cool study that basically classified people as beginner, intermediate, or advanced based on whether or not they typically scale a workout, or they typically always go RX. They do the workout as prescribed, as written on the board, or whether they mix the two together. And classifying folks who say they mostly scale as beginners, folks who say they mostly perform the workout as prescribed, as advanced, and then those folks who mix scaled and RX is those intermediate athletes. And finding that the beginner athletes, the folks who scale a lot, the folks who are relatively brand new to CrossFit are actually one of the groups least likely to be injured. And why is that? If we step back and look at that, it's really hard for those people to hurt themselves, right? They really can't do a lot. They don't know a lot of the skills. It's not like they walk into the gym on day one and start doing high volume bar muscle ups. They are usually being scaled by the coach, and as they kind of get used to doing CrossFit, they know what movements they can do and what they can and how to scale them. And they're performing most of their workouts as scaled, so they're encountering naturally lighter loads, less range of motion, less impact, less high skill movement, and are therefore one of the safer groups. It's basically hard for these folks to hurt themselves. They can't really do anything. They're just getting used to it. And where do these folks fall chronologically? These folks have been doing CrossFit from day one to maybe out to even as far as 3 years, right? Some folks can take a little bit longer to develop, especially if they're not getting into the gym as often, right? If they're only coming 2 or 3 days a week, maybe they're using CrossFit as their cross training. Maybe they're a runner or a cyclist or some sort of outdoor athlete, and they're only in the gym for the strength training benefits, to kind of offset their endurance training. Then we would see that those folks are slower to develop, and maybe they would consider themselves a beginner out to maybe even 3 years or so in the gym. Now, on the other end of that continuum is the advanced athlete. That is a person that is doing the workout as prescribed, pretty much every workout. They have been doing CrossFit for a while. These folks tend to have a background in strength and conditioning and sports coming into CrossFit. Maybe they were a high school and or college sports player, football, soccer, something like that. They're used to moving a barbell. They're used to kind of longer conditioning pieces, and they're accustomed in general to heavier loads, higher volume, and greater frequency. And they have may be coming to the gym for 3 or more years, although not always. We see some folks who come in with a really big base, especially fresh out of college or something like that, or even still in college or high school sports, though they tend to trend up towards advanced athletes much sooner. And now these folks too, we might think, well, they're doing heavier loads, they're doing higher skills, they're moving through a bigger range of motion. Certainly these folks must also be at a higher risk for injury. And again, the data would not support that. The data would say because these folks have such a robust base, they have such strong tissue capacity through years of strength and conditioning, they are much more harder to injure, and they are injured less frequently than the intermediate athlete. And so at both sides of the continuum, beginner and advanced, these folks are relatively safe when coming in and performing CrossFit, whether they have a big base with the advanced athlete or whether they don't have a base at all and they can't really do much in the gym to injure themselves in the first place. And so that brings us to the athlete we're the most worried about and that the data would support is the most likely to be injured, which is the intermediate athlete. This athlete who has transitioned from that beginner status and is trying to now complete workouts as prescribed on the board. So they are trying now to challenge themselves with heavier loads, higher volumes, more reps, more sets, greater frequency maybe, and bigger ranges of motion as they start to develop some of their skills. Pull-ups, muscle-ups, handstands, double unders, that sort of thing. And they are going back and forth between scaled and RX, depending on what they're able to handle, right? So they come in and they look at the board and they say, I can RX this workout, I'm going to go for it. And maybe the next day they come in and they say, well, I can't do any of that stuff, I'm going to scale this workout. And so they're encountering this variable blend of skill and working through range of motion and loads and volume in a way that predisposes them statistically more to injury. And this is the group that we need to be most focused on with coaching and also from a physical therapy perspective. Speaking from the clinical side of things, these are the folks we see most often in physical therapy, right? They thought they had it. They stepped up to bat and they swung at the workout RX and they whiffed it, right? It did not go well. They tweaked their back on a heavy deadlift workout or a high volume wall ball workout or something like that. They thought they were ready and then they weren't. And certainly, anybody that's been doing CrossFit for a while can relate to that from a personal perspective. But these are the athletes we're most concerned about with coaching. And from a physical therapy perspective, these folks often had a lot of weaknesses we can work on the physical therapy side of things, range of motion, accessory pieces for some focused weaknesses. And on the coaching side of things, these are the athletes we really need to talk to them about how they're going to approach the workout. And hopefully, we have a relationship with these athletes from the coaching side that we know what they can handle and what they can't when they step up and say, I think I can do those 315 deadlifts, touch and go. And you say, Steve, what's your max deadlift? And they go, oh, it's 335. And you say, I don't think it's a good idea to try and do the deadlifts today, RX at 315. That seems to be pretty darn close to your max. That doesn't seem like a good idea. So explaining the stimulus of the workout to these athletes, helping them understand this probably isn't going to be a good idea for you. Let's go ahead and scale this. But then also knowing the athlete enough to encourage them to say, hey, you know what? That looks too light. That's moving too fast. Why don't you try RX today and just see how it goes? So not always, discouraging these folks from trying RX, but helping them find that nice blend between when to know when to go RX and when to scale it, and not letting them get away with walking in and saying, I feel like I've been here for a while. I'm just going to start trying every workout as it's written. That usually doesn't go well. And just understanding the baseline capacities for these athletes as well, of when that athlete comes in and says, hey coach, today is the day. I'm going to do butterfly pull-ups. And you say, Tina, you can't do one strict pull-up. You've been here for 2 years. You still can't do one strict pull-up. Once you can show me a couple strict pull-ups, we can talk about letting you do butterfly pull-ups in a workout during class. And so understanding these athletes, and pushing them when it's okay, and definitely peeling back when it's not, and then helping them work on their weaknesses, their mobility deficits that may still be there, from the physical therapy side of things. So don't underestimate the intermediate athlete. These athletes often get overlooked in the gym. They typically are moving okay enough that they are not often catching the eye of the coach too much. The coach is usually focused on helping beginners, and also helping some of the advanced athletes push themselves a little bit. That intermediate athlete can kind of hide in plain sight in the middle of class, and it's important that we still stay focused on these folks, even though they've come off our radar as somebody that's no longer moving poorly, or needing a lot of help approaching the workout. They still need our help to then mature and develop into that advanced athlete. And then on the far end of that continuum is that elite or CrossFit Games level athlete. We don't talk about these folks too much because we typically don't see them in class, right? They are often training 2, 3, maybe even 4 sessions of lifting and CrossFit and endurance a day. And they're usually training on their own during open gym or in their own garage or something like that. They're usually not dropping into class and taking class. These folks are accustomed to really heavy load, high volumes, high frequency. They can use a lot of help from the physical therapy side of things to stay in the gym, to kind of help patch up weaknesses and kind of keep them moving from a recovery perspective. But again, from the coaching side of things, we usually don't see these athletes in class. And so they're not on our radar as much, because they're kind of doing their own thing with the understanding that, if you train at open gym, or in your garage or in your basement, you're on your own without a coach. We can't do much to help you. And so you're kind of on your own to kind of pursue that goal of taking it to the next level. But from our perspective, from a coach and PT side of things, we're definitely focused on that intermediate athlete. And I'll share that paper I've been talking about that shows the relationship between folks who scale all the time, do the workout as prescribed all the time, or blend RX and scale together, and showing that intermediate athlete is indeed statistically the most likely to be injured in the gym. And learning how to support and help that athlete is really crucial from both a physical therapy and coach side of things. So hope that helps. Would love to hear a discussion about this. I hope we can see you all tonight here at 6 Eastern to interview Dr. Julie Fouché. And then if you're going to be in Asheville this weekend, I'll see you down in North Carolina tomorrow morning. Other than that, hope you all have a fantastic Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the PT on Ice Daily Show. If you enjoyed this content, head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. And be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at the Institute of Clinical Excellence. If you're interested in getting plugged into more ICE content on a weekly basis while earning CEUs from home, check out our virtual ICE online mentorship program at ptonice.com. While you're there, sign up for our Hump Day Hustling newsletter for a free email every Wednesday morning with our top 5 research articles and social media posts that we think are worth reading. Head over to ptonice.com and scroll to the bottom of the page to sign up.